and we've experienced God's faithfulness in that, in a foreign land, not knowing anybody, and having God just order our steps and being able to walk in faith. Now that we're back stateside, like we were saying, that it's different, not like what we left it 20 years ago. But you know what? We find ourselves in a foreign land again. And if we have that mentality that God's ordering our steps, causing divine appointments like this, you'll see the beauty in the ashes. Now we've got a different angle of not expecting the old, but coming in as a foreigner and living differently, naturally, because we're not from this place.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. This is a special episode. It's actually number 80. So we're really looking forward to what we're going to have today. And I have some very special guests with me. I don't know if you have a favorite restaurant that you like to go to. I have a few that I can name. And for today, I'm going to tell you that definitely one of mine is Fil A. If you've ever been to Fil A, then you already know that it's fantastic. And if you haven't, then I will tell you, as many have probably told you in the past, you've been missing out. You need to do that today. So my guests today actually are owners of a local Fil A and also great people, family people, people of faith as well. And so we're happy to have them with us today. And that's Morris and Beverly Li. So thank you so much for coming and joining us today for the podcast.
It's great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, let's go ahead and we're going to get right into it. I'm going to let you guys kind of share because some that are watching may know you, but there's a lot I'm sure they do not. So go ahead and kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves, family background maybe, and maybe also a little bit about how you came to faith.
Ooh, big questions.
Yes. So my name is Morris. Beverly and I actually met in high school.
Nice.
But didn't start dating until many years later, but we've been married for 21 years. We have 3 kids, Skylar, who's turning 18 in August, Sydney, who's 15, and Ryan, who's 10. So we have been... we've been working in Chick-fil-A for the last 5 years, and it's just been an incredible experience. But prior to Chick-fil-A, we spent 11 years in East Asia, where we were launching businesses as well as planting churches while we were out there.
Wonderful. Wonderful. You want to add anything to that? Or,
That's great.
Or he pretty much covered that? Okay, wonderful. Well, so you're mentioning right now about Chick-fil-A. And I will tell you, not only is it one of my favorite places to eat, this is going to sound a little biased, and some people are going to think it's possibly because I'm just interviewing you today. But I've been to a lot of Chick-fil-A's. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I've never gone to a bad one. They've all been good. I've been at them locally. I've been to them as far as Florida. But I will say, and you guys own the ones, I'm pretty sure it's okay to say which one, right? You guys own the one in Monterey Park, California. And I've noticed something. The sandwich is just better. I tell you, I am not joking when I tell you that. I literally, I thought it was a freak thing the one time, but then 2, 3, 4 consistently, it's like, this is like the best chicken sandwich I've had. I don't know what you're doing different, but it's just better. And I wouldn't say that, honestly, if I wasn't being sincere. Now, it's not that the other ones are bad that I've had, but it's a little juicier. It's just good, just right. And I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. All right. So what is the, how did you got that? We're going to get to Chick-fil-A in a moment, but you're mentioning how you served as missionaries as well. So how did you get led in the mission field, and what was that experience like?
The community and the church that we've grown up in is very missions oriented, actually. And the calling is really simple, is that we're all called to share the good news.
Sure.
And whether or not it's here locally or abroad, it's just such a privilege. Do you know the good news? Have you heard good news? And we're really excited to be able to share that. So as we pursued our careers in finance, the majority of the time we spent outside of work was planning for a sports camp.
Okay.
And we worked with Focus on the Family at that time, and we always been involved with youth ministries, whether it's junior high, high school, then in college, and then young adults, just being able to coach and walk our young people with their faith and what everyday life looks like.
Right.
So we had the opportunity to go abroad, go overseas to China to go explore work opportunities. And the rest is history. But when we went out there, we actually found ourselves, we got job offers in the high-tech industry, and found that it was a great platform for us to go and live, be, and share our faith.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love the youth aspect that you're bringing, because that's always been near and dear to my heart, as well as coaching and all of that. So what do you think drew you? It's just the way God's made you both, where you just have that heart for younger people?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we've both been coached and had some very important people impact our lives.
I mean, growing up playing sports, coaches playing such an instrumental role in our lives, molding and shaping us. Our youth pastor and his wife playing a big role in molding us and shaping us and giving that perspective of what God is doing in the rest of the world and our role in it. So
yeah,
both, having amazing mentors to mold and shape us has really kind of propelled us to go and to think about being a part of what God's doing globally.
Amen. So it's a kind of like almost a pay it forward type of thing. As you had those influences in your own life, you know how valuable it is. And have you found, I know that I see this too, there's often that I really am tempted to just be having a busy schedule, to quit
Mm-hmm.
coaching, because I still coach at a local high school.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times it's like, I just don't have time. But there's that aspect of, I mean, I'm sure you noticed this, just being somebody in a young person's life to just say, hey, I believe in you. I'm there here to encourage you, to build up, because there's so much negativity
Sure.
out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you noticed that personally for yourselves, but also can you think of many instances where you could just see the difference made just in the outlook of someone's face just by the fact that you were behind them?
Yeah. Hands down. Yeah.
So it's not always preaching a big sermon or anything like that. It's just that love and support sometimes.
When we think about, we both grew up in the church, and thinking about our Sunday school teachers and how they invested their time in teaching and spending time with us. Like, we don't remember any of the lessons that they actually shared with us,
Right.
But we still feel the love and the care that they have for us, and that's transformative.
Yeah, isn't that true? You remember the people. You remember more the intentions, the relationship, all of that. And it's funny you mentioned, because we don't remember specifically, they taught us this, they taught us that. And yet you end up turning around and teaching very much the same things. I know I've noticed that through the years. My kids or others, they'll go to explain some concept of the Bible, and they don't give me any credit, because of course I got it from someone else to begin with.
Sure.
But I'm thinking, that's exactly the way I would explain it. So you obviously got it, but they don't even realize that's where they got it from. But it's just in there.
Right.
It's in there, and God doesn't waste anything. So let's go on. So you did missions together. You also do a lot of what you're doing now together, right? In fact, how much time do you think on an average week, a percentage of time approximately, you spend doing things together?
That's a 24/7. We're together pretty much 24/7. I mean, in the thick of it, our conversations continue to revolve around our children, our family, our businesses, the leadership training that's going on. It's been fun.
Don't forget the dogs.
Yeah.
Walking the dog.
The dogs are definitely a major part. I've always been a dog lover, so that's fine. That's a real testimony to what you're saying, because many today say, oh no, if we're together all the time, we drive each other crazy. We need that space. We need that time apart. So what do you think, I don't want you to pass judgment on others, but what do you think contributes to the fact that with you guys doing this together, pretty much everything you're doing, that works?
Good question. What works?
Well, why don't you share about our premarital?
Oh no. Okay.
Let's throw it all.
We'll put it all out there. I mean, in our premarital counseling, which is highly recommended for everybody, right? We took, of course, your personality tests. And they came back, to no surprise, like DNA strands, complete opposites. Every now and then they intersect where we agree that we disagree, and they come out different. And so we knew that we were different. We know that when two people come together, you've got two sinners coming together with their own objective of taking care of themselves and how do you commit to wanting to take care of the other person? And during our premarital, our pastor had spelled out very clearly, Bev, it seems like you've got things going on, people to see, things to do, places to go, on the go. You're kind of always driving, kind of like the engine and just going. And I'm sitting there going like, we don't need to enunciate that. He's like, we still have to get to the altar. Like, this isn't helping, Pastor. And but one word of advice and clarity that has really defined our relationship is that Morris, he then turns to Morris. He goes, Morris, Bev's got a place to go, and you better get out of the way or it's not going to be pretty. And your role and responsibility is to lay the tracks. And as head of the house, if you're not laying the tracks and setting direction, this motion will continue to cause a lot of friction. And that was very defining in our relationship and in our marriage, knowing that Bev's got these ideas, they come out of nowhere, but really submitting to the head of the house and letting Morris lay those tracks. And I'm not going anywhere unless those tracks are laid. And in that timing of when those tracks get laid, there certainly is a lot of friction. But I know my role, Morris knows his role, and it's been a really great complementary partnership. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. So the balance, there's definitely a balance, right?
Sure.
So maybe there's times where you're just really ready to move.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe you need to slow down occasionally, right?
Right.
And he may be the balance that God uses to say, hold up.
Yeah.
Just a second. But there's probably a lot of times where he would not move without you saying we need to move.
Sure.
Right? So there's that balance back and forth and the value that both of you bring.
So familiar.
Yeah, it does. and I think that let's talk about this for a second. So you mentioned something very key. Your pastor said, well, you're going to want, and you're going to want to do things that's going to cause friction. So who is the we? It tells us that we're supposed to become one. Mm-hmm. And so is it two become one, or is it really a partnership of three?
Yeah, that's good. It is.
That's
Absolutely.
profound.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. So would you say that then God being in your relationship, being a center part of the relationship, because even submitting, if he's laying the tracks, which you mentioned, that's the role. Doesn't mean he's any smarter than you.
Sure.
I don't think he'd say that. But that's the role and the responsibility, which kind of, in some ways, it's like, well, if he blows that, that's on him. Mm-hmm. As long as you're, doing what you're supposed to be doing in that role. But at the same time, she has no less value, obviously, in her ideas and everything that she has than you do. So as God kind of lays that foundation, you take God out of that equation. Let's just go hypothetical. You take God out of that equation now. And is that where a lot of relationships, say today, go wrong?
I think so. I think so. I think for putting God back in the equation, we don't disagree on direction. Mm-hmm. We don't disagree on purpose. We don't disagree on where we're headed. Maybe like how to get there or how fast we get there.
Right.
That's something that we need to work through together. But if you take that out altogether as far as purpose, direction, then
what else do you have? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're either being led by the Spirit, which is not divided, or it becomes ego, and ego can be different, right? So I love it. It wasn't things I told you I was going to ask you. I was having a conversation as we go along. So you do a lot together, and then the Lord led you then out of missions. You did missions again how long? Sorry.
We were there for
almost 11 years.
Almost 11 years, and you both look incredibly young, so it's amazing that you've done all this in this time span. So
start early.
Start early, that's what you got.
We didn't start early. We were on.
We're mid-20s.
Yeah, we were.
Young and foolish and willing to go.
So that transition from missions then back to the States, was that always planned, or was there something? I don't know if you planned to go in missions to begin with. Mm. So maybe you were there longer than you originally even expected. I don't know. So how did you then end up being directed back? Was there some leading that took you there?
Oh yeah, we definitely felt like we had stayed there past our original intent. Our original intent was 3 to 5 years. And before we went out there, we did, interviews and did a scouting trip to find out, what makes the impact when you're on the field. And the feedback that we got was very interesting because they being out on the field, on the mission field, going out for 1 to 2 years really has minimum impact. We were actually hearing it from the local side and saying, you come in with your great ideas, you want to share all these good news, and then once all the good news happens and reality hits, then you're packed up and ready to go home. That's not helpful. So we realized that, okay, we wanted to be here long term. So we gave ourselves a 3 to 5 year kind of goal. We had just gotten married when we got out there. We thought that this would be a great start for our marriage, on mission, if you will. If you told me I was going to have kids there, I would have said, you're crazy. There's no way. But we ended up having kids there, 1 kid, 2 kid. Next thing you know, it's 3, 5 years. And at the end of the 5-year track, we're like, do we go back home? Like, no, it seems like we just scratched the surface.
Sure.
And we wanted to stay longer. So we committed to that. And 6 years, 7 years, and folks are asking, are you guys ever coming back? And we said, no way, we're good here. 8 years, 9 years, it's safer out here for our kids. Like, living overseas, my kids already know they're foreigners, that their lives are different. Our values, our family values are different from what they see all around them. And of course, they're little. And I felt like it was safe to be out in a foreign land, just kind of how it works. And as soon as I had said, we're good in China, we're safe out there, it's not the same if we came back stateside. Gets a little bit messy. Like, I can't even sit down and watch Disney Channel with my kids because there are different messages there that are unfamiliar. And as soon as I said, we don't need to go back, we're safe in China, and then God said, and we're done.
Gotta watch what you say.
Yeah, I was like, I take it back. And he's like, okay, well, now it's time to go back stateside where you think that it's scary, challenging, foreign, coming back stateside, especially raising your family. Let's bring it back home and see how that works out for you. So we're in the thick of it. Raising our kids right now, teenagers, for the last 10 years, just getting ready, rising senior, rising sophomore, little guy pulling up the year. And it's been a pure joy, challenge, scary, but we feel really blessed to be here in this time and space. Yeah.
You bring up something that some people would not expect, and that's to say that being in a foreign country is safer than being here.
Yeah.
And yet how sad it is that things have changed like that, especially towards children. This is fresh in my mind because I went and saw the movie last night, Sound of Freedom, that just came out. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Not yet.
Yeah.
It's done very well, but I tell you, you can't. It's hard to watch some of what goes through this, and it's awful what's going on today.
But I want to say, what we know of Abraham being called to go to the place that I will show you.
Sure.
Right? There was no clarity. There was no certainty. There was just a instruction to go.
Yeah.
And we had that opportunity to go and find the person of peace that God will prepare. And we've experienced God's faithfulness in that, in a foreign land, not knowing anybody, and having God just order our steps and being able to walk in faith. So that was a lot of fun. We did that once in one part of China, did it a second time in another part of China, and experienced God's faithfulness in a foreign land and in what he was able to bring together and orchestrate together outside of our own skills, outside of our own contacts, outside of our own planning or organization, and living off of and trusting and believing what God had for us. So the act of being a foreigner, as scary and as non-logical as it sounds, there was beauty in that. And to the extent that now that we're back stateside, like we were saying, that it's different, not like what we left it 20 years ago. But you know what? We find ourselves in a foreign land again. And if we have that mentality that God's ordering our steps and causing divine appointments like this, you'll see the beauty in the ashes. And that's now we've got a different angle of not expecting the old, but coming in as an alien, as a foreigner, and living differently, naturally, because we're not from this place.
Absolutely. So wherever we are, whether it's foreign, it's all we're citizens of heaven, right? If we have faith. So God's the same in every country.
Sure.
And that same opportunity. So you guys transition then. You come back into the States. you end up, I don't know how this happens. Maybe you can kind of connect the dots here. So you end up becoming the owners of a Chick-fil-A. Was that in the plans? That just kind of
Absolutely not in the plan.
about 5 years now, right?
So we've been open for 5 years, but we had, since we've been working with young people most of our lives, ministering to middle schoolers and sports camps, to youth group. We graduated to high school kids, and then we worked with college kids as well. It just became really part of our DNA to be working, mentoring, shepherding young folks. So while we were in southern China building a factory for one of my previous employer, Corning, we got a chance to host 6 Chick-fil-A operators from the United States.
Okay.
So they came out to share about how they run their businesses and how they use biblical values to make impact on their guests, on their customers, and the team members as well. So we got a chance to hear these stories for 3 days. We translated for them. We were just really impacted by their stories, impacted by the people that they were working with, and changing the trajectory of their lives. So the operator on that trip planted a little seed in my heart. He said, "Morris, I think you have what it takes to become a Chick-fil-A operator someday." So this was 2009, kind of deposited that into my heart, not knowing at that point if and when we were ever coming back to the U.S.
Sure.
So first seeds deposited in my heart. We repatriated back to the U.S. back at the end of 2012, and came back to do a startup with one of my buddies, my high school Sunday school buddies. And the day that we sold the business and walked out together was the day I submitted my name into the Chick-fil-A operator candidacy pool, and so that was kind of the journey to becoming operators. But our heart really is to help our young people become successful long-term professionals. And we had a chance to do that when we were in China. And I think that story and that story and wanting to replicate that story here in the U.S. propelled us to focus on the Chick-fil-A opportunity.
Nice. Now, you're mentioning that heart for young people still goes in there.
Yeah.
Because many people in business, any business, they'll look at it and go, well, it's all about business, right? It's all about being successful. It's all about making a lot of money. Obviously, Chick-fil-A is a successful business if you run it correctly. And I guess that maybe kind of spin off of this, how the word tells us that if we seek what God tells us to do first, and all the rest will then be added. So does the success of, say, the franchise kind of take care of itself when you're just treating people correctly?
Oh, yeah.
We believe that biblical values is good business. Taking care of folks, being kind to your guests, going above and beyond their expectations. That's all biblical. So we try to live that out daily through the restaurant.
When we were mentoring college students, specifically, we had said, hey, look, in your 20s, as you're still in college, explore many avenues, go wide, go far, and try different things out. In your 30s, you have an idea of kind of what your niche is, your specialty. In your 40s, don't be hopping around. Well, lo and behold, in our 40s, we're starting brand new industries in the food and beverage industry for Morris and real estate for me. And you just don't know where God's going to take you in this journey. And the DNA that Morris is talking about was just people development. We were pursuing a corporate track and climbing the corporate ladder, both of us in finance backgrounds.
Yeah.
And the more that we grew in our business experiences, the only thing that really was inspiring was the opportunity to build a team and the opportunity to lead a team or a department, if you will. So the people aspect, naturally. Politics, not so much, but the people aspects. And that's where we find the connection of our background working in youth ministries, working with different characters, working with young people. That really gave us that edge when we grew in our careers. But turning it back, why Chick-fil-A? The opportunity to work with young people and teaching them that it's these interpersonal skills that's really going to make the mark.
Right. So when you're working with them, I mean, some owners of some types of franchises would be thinking, okay, I want to keep this person long term. I want to bring them into management, and then I want them to eventually I just never want to lose the employee. I'm sensing you acknowledge that may not be the path for many of who you have, but it doesn't matter. You're going to impose that value into them, even if it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, right? You're kind of, I know, Morris, you've talked to me about this before, how you see every person that you have hired, in that light. You want to kind of elaborate on that just a little?
Sure. I mean, we know the hopes and dreams of all of our team members that come through our doors. And so their hopes and dreams, most of them is not to stay with Chick-fil A long term. And we totally understand that. We totally respect that. And it's because our why is to help them grow into successful long-term professionals. We want to help them get there. So the opportunities that they have, the responsibilities that they have at the restaurant, we will go above and beyond. If they live out our vision and values, we will go above and beyond our, whatever means that we need to go through to be able to help them get there. So, for example, we had this amazing back of house leader. He had a heart to go into sports media. That was his lifelong dream. He's studying sports journalism in school right now, and one of our friends happens to be in the sports media space, and so we made the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still painful. It's still painful to lose amazing team members. But for us to be able to help our team members get to their lifelong goal and dreams, like how fulfilling and how satisfying is that as an owner to know that we had a small role in helping to mold and shape this person and get to where they want to get to. So that's really our heart. It's never easy to lose good people, good team members, but we know that we're helping them get to where they want to get to, and Lord always provides and will give us the next leader.
Right. Now I want to touch on something that you always hear in Chick-fil-A. And some of us that are not always in Chick-fil-A, we even make fun of it a little bit. And that's the my pleasure. Mm-hmm. It's like, they're just told to say that. Okay. Everything's my pleasure. And if you talk to someone that is at Chick-fil-A regularly, it'll creep into their normal daily conversation. And so some of us will make little jokes about it. But it's sad that we would make a joke about that. And I think the reason we do is because it's such a stark contrast to how people are normally treating one another. So maybe kind of go a little deeper. What's the intent behind that? Is it really to have an attitude that, yes, to serve you and to help you and to make your life better is an attitude that we're all supposed to have with people?
Good question. That's good.
You want to touch on that?
No, well, I mean, it's such a privilege to serve. We're in a position of privilege to be able to serve. And part of the recruiting process, or a major part of the process, is sharing with them what our vision and values are. Our vision for our store is to celebrate our neighbors with the best chicken sandwich served with genuine kindness. So it's pretty simple. Celebrate your neighbors. It's 2 parts people and 1 part chicken is what we say. We celebrate our neighbors with the best chicken sandwich with genuine kindness. And so the outlook is not on yourself. The outlook is on the people around you. And it's because of the chicken sandwich that brings people in. Without the chicken sandwich, we wouldn't necessarily have the talent that we're able to bring in, the community that comes in as well. And the genuine kindness is recognizing that if they don't come here, they might be next door in and out. Or they might be down the street at some other restaurant. What a privilege it is for them to come in through. So taking a heart and a position of gratitude, I think, is what's most important for our team members, to have a heart of service. And when you come with a heart of service, there's joy and there's privilege, and it's a pleasure to do that. I mean, that's something that we share from day one when we get our new team members come in. Have you heard that Chick-fil-A workers say, "It's my pleasure"? Do you know why we would say that? Have a chance to relay that story.
Yeah, guests come to our restaurant to solve a problem, and that's their hunger. Initially, it's a hunger problem.
Yeah.
So they come for the chicken, but they stay because of our people. They stay because of our hospitality. They stay because we are serving them and trying to go above and beyond to surprise and delight them in different ways. So yes, we do train our team members to say "my pleasure." It is our heart that the team members will really grasp the privilege it is to be able to serve somebody and to change the trajectory of their days. We have that. We're empowered to be able to surprise and delight. We're empowered to be able to make somebody's day so much brighter than before they came in. So that's the privilege that we get to do every single day.
Well, I think our team members also know that it's a competitive environment. And I say this all the time, this isn't a McDonald's. This is an opportunity. It's a different culture that's really important to us. And in fact, when both Morris and I worked in technology, worked in startup, we put in a lot of long hours. Yeah. In fact, we were spending more time with our coworkers than we were of each other. And so we tell our team at Chick-fil-A, look, your time with your coworker right next to you, you're spending so much time with it. We want to make sure that each team member is offering you an opportunity for you to grow, where iron sharpens iron. And so the time that you have in our store putting in hours for working is supposed to be a time where you grow, where you take next level steps of development and advancement and everything. So the time that they have in store is concise and it's precious. And you've got to make your mark and pull in your own weight as well. The best part of working for such an amazing brand is that it continues to attract like-minded folks. And so our kids, our team members are earning their keep. So they know that time is of the essence, that it's not just here to hang out and have fun, but it's here for you to grow.
Right.
And I think that they've picked up on that in the culture to see that it is a specific amount of time that they can be here. And we've seen that it's been a pleasure for them to work there.
Nice. I love what you're bringing up about the concept of team, because that's not how corporate America and even businesses used to be. Like when I was younger, I worked at like a Sears store. Sears are almost on their way out right now. It's no coincidence that they're almost on their way out. And we were told right off the bat, which I'm sure you'd have a similar outlook, and that is, well, the customer is always right. So we were emphasized the customer is always right. But the problem was, what about your coworker? We didn't necessarily matter in that situation. As long as you always said the customer was right, you could be suffering, struggling, whatever, and it didn't matter. Just get the job done. So that team concept of, hey, we're doing something together, you pull your own weight. I mean, this goes right back to your coaching and you're working with young people and all that. I mean, how does a team go when it's just one ball hog out there and nobody else matters and they're not working together, right? So you've been able to transfer that over. I know you're obviously going to say good things about all Chick-fil-A's. Are there differences? Is that the way it is everywhere? Or have you seen where in some cases it seems to be stronger in some than others?
Good question.
I think every operator is at a different stage in their faith journey and their leadership journey, and we just happen to be a little bit older than some of our other peers. But I think everybody strives to be able to live out the corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A, which is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that's entrusted to us, and to be a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. So like that's what we're all aiming towards, and different folks are in different levels of their journey. So, but we spend a lot of the operator community. We spend a lot of time together. We problem solve together. We encourage each other. We pray for each other. And so, I know most of the problems that we have, some other operators already solved it. So I will reach out to that operator. I'm like, hey, how did you solve this problem? Right. And folks will reach out to us as well. So we learn and glean a lot from one another, and so we do want to make each other better.
Well, that's a good environment too, because that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And someone's like, no, I'm going to make sure mine's more successful than yours. You figure it out. Right. So it's not that kind of culture in the company.
Not at all. It's a very supportive, encouraging fraternity of operators.
Okay. So technically, I guess you could say, if you look at it that way, even from a business perspective, if I go to a Chick-fil-A, say in West Covina, because there is one there, and I have a decent experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So then when I'm traveling through Monterey Park and I see another Chick-fil-A, the fact that I had a good experience in West Covina will probably carry over to then, oh, there's a Chick-fil-A. Okay, I like Chick-fil-A. But if I had a bad experience, then I'm probably going to be like, I don't like that place. I have a negative. So I guess you're kind of helping everywhere, right?
Absolutely. Consistency of the brand, of the guest experience, really, really important for Chick-fil-A. We want the folks to know that when they go to their home store, whether it's West Covina or Monterey Park, they're going to have a consistent experience wherever they go.
And it's measured. I think that's what stands out for Chick-fil-A. I mean, the corporate Inc. measures all of this consistency. It's an ongoing basis. It's not just once a year that they drop in.
I mean, we're actually very transparent with all of our
scores.
Our scores compared to West Covina's scores, compared to Pasadena's scores. We see each other's numbers, and so we all want to be the best. We all want to get
competitive as well. So
competition's good.
It is very healthy.
I mean, it helps you to strive to be excellent in many things. So that's great. Well, going along with this, then let's talk. You may or may not know this, but goals. Maybe God's put. I mean, what's happening is awesome, and every stage. I think you look back at your life, that everything that you've gone through right now, and where you're thinking. I love what you said earlier. We were there, and just when we said we were good, and God said, "No, you're not." It's almost like, I mean, He can see what we can't see, and it's kind of like God sometimes saying, "Well, you think you know, but you don't know. I have plans." He gives us little glimpses along the way. All of it is important at every stage, and it all builds towards the next. So, any inkling of anything coming, or has He put anything there?
For us, we want to continue to be faithful with what we have, faithful with little, so that we can be faithful with much. We have one day one team member that graduated from the police academy last week, and so had the privilege of attending that ceremony. And I was really emotional going to a graduation of one of my day one team members that I personally interviewed, and now he's a police officer in the local police department. Like, I want to see more leaders. I want to grow more leaders and have them take the things that they learn at Chick-fil-A and apply them to their next job and their next industry. So I would like to see more. I would definitely want to see more of those, more police officers, more nurses. We want more impact. We want more impact in the community. We're also looking for opportunities to be able to partner with more organizations that are doing good works in the community. So we get a chance to partner with a couple folks in East LA. There's a jiu-jitsu school that we partner with.
Oh, nice.
And it's a nonprofit school in the heart of East LA, started by a guy by the name of Ron Mukai. He grew up in East LA, and he wants to bring world-class martial arts training to help young people grow and develop and shepherd them in discipline and respect and competition. Right. So we get to partner with these folks that are doing good works in the community, and we just come alongside of them. They're like a burning flame, and we just add a little fire, a lot of gasoline to the fire, and just to help in the form of chicken to help.
Chicken's always great.
Yes, to help stoke the flames, and so we just love partnering with folks that are doing good stuff in the community. So it all ties back into our store vision to celebrate our neighbors. Who are our neighbors? It's guests that come in through the doors. It's our team members that come in through our doors. It's also folks that are doing amazing works in the community already. Police department, fire, nonprofits. We want to add gasoline to the fires and help them accomplish and get more impact.
So you take, so here you have somebody who's now in the police department, and now you imagine him going out in the community, handling a call or handling some type of conflict or something like that. Isn't it kind of awesome to know that all the interaction that he's had at the time that he's been with you, 5 years now? About?
He left about three years in.
Okay, one of your original.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm sure that those people skills and working with others and all that is a foundation. Not all of it, obviously, but definitely a valuable part of now how he may handle some person out there and approach, because there's an approach often something that will escalate or de-escalate a situation very much.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So in nurses, you're mentioning all of these types of professions that require people to be careful and compassionate with others and all that. So definitely the skills definitely transfer over. So in other words, what you're saying is just keep influencing as many people as possible, right?
Yes.
Well, let me give you guys the chance to kind of do that right now. Okay. There could be We don't know who's going to watch this, and we don't know when. We put it out there on YouTube, and unless they take it down, which hopefully they don't, it's going to be out there for a long time. So it could be even 5-10 years from now when somebody sees this. There are people there, though, that are searching. I mean, they're literally just searching. There's more and more disillusionment in people's hearts today. There's more and more of an emptiness. We see things like mental health crisis and spiritual crisis just escalating. Suicide rates, you name it, are just skyrocketing through the roof. There's obviously something wrong. And somebody like that may be in that place in life might be listening right now. Okay? What do you think God may lead you to tell them about how he might want to help get them out of that? It's a tough question, I know.
That's a deep one.
It's a deep one, and I think you'll just need to rely on whatever God's telling you to say. Just
Oh, wow. You know, we've got teenagers right now, and mental health is at the forefront of the conversations,
Sure.
And especially at the store as well, with young people and just in general. The secret sauce of Fil A would be, and one of the strange things about a fast food restaurant is that we have Sundays off. And it's because we have Sundays off that we have a competitive edge. Meaning that Truett Cathey, the founder of Chick-fil-A, dedicated Sundays off for family, for God first and for family, and a day of rest.
Yeah.
And as many things as you could do, and as many sandwiches as you could package, or as many people as you can serve, or going out to the community with the various players in the community, at the end of the day, there's always an inbox. There's always more to do.
Sure.
But God calls us to sit down and rest and take that Sabbath. And even as God sat down and looked at all that he created, he took a step back and said, this is good. So for us to be able to wait on the Lord and to take that step back, that rest, and believing and connecting with your Creator, there's your edge. There's our edge. There is Chick-fil-A's edge. There's our fuel, our heart, our flame, our living water comes from that day of rest. And that's something that we continue to share and coach our children and our team members. What are you doing on Sunday? Is it committed to family time, a time of rest? Is it time for you to be restored and renewed and rejuvenated? That's really the secret of success that we have found in this organization and in our cadence of life, is that rest.
Yeah.
That rest that I'm not the end all be all. I'm not the creator here. I'm not going to solve every problems. All the problems continue to pour out, but it doesn't rely on me. It relies on a good God and a good Father, God that we have, that we have access to, that you have access to. And that's our encouragement in that mental health crisis, in that weariness and the exhaustion of the messiness, the noise that we face in the world. Can you quiet yourself and find rest? And what kind of rest is that? And who will restore you? And that's the secret sauce of Chick-fil-A.
I think studies show that gratitude helps to lead to mental health. And so there's all these gratitude journals that are set up for you to write down 10 things that you're grateful for each and every day. And so we're actually trying to train this amongst our team members. I think as business owners and parents, I think gratitude is the most attractive attribute or quality of somebody. To have somebody who's gracious, who appreciates the opportunities, appreciates whatever they have, it's so beautiful and so attractive. And so we try to train our team members. And I tell them all the time, I said, if the only thing that you guys learn by the time you leave our restaurant is to write thank you notes, is to write encouragement notes to your friends, to your coaches, even your parents, to your teachers, if that's the only thing that you guys learn to do, I know you guys are going to be successful and just fine in life. So we have a remarkable board in our employee break section, break area, and we have it's filled with all these 3x5 cards of Tommy. He did a great job in leading this area today. You kept it ultra clean. You served guests really with joy and happiness. Like we want our team members. We encourage our team members to call out the good things that they see in each and every one of your team members. Also your leaders, like be vocal about it, be specific about what you want to appreciate. So we're trying to help our team members to practice this exercise of gratitude. Sometimes it feels like it's writing a middle school yearbook. Sure. But I think graciousness is just a beautiful thing that we want to help to train our team members to learn.
And these are things that are in stark contrast to a lot of what we're seeing today. So even gratitude, I mean, if you're not focusing on gratitude, then we're focusing on what? Negative things.
Yes.
Everything that's wrong, right? So it totally changes the mindset right there. And then you're bringing up rest. And I can't help but think of the verse where Jesus says, all you that are weak, heavy burdened, and you've got all this coming on. He goes, come to me because I'll give you rest. He doesn't say all the problems will be gone.
Sure.
Or that they won't exist. But he's saying, hey, we're going to acknowledge the fact that life is tough on earth, this side of heaven, but this is where you find that rest, where you find that peace, right? All right, so last question. If the seats are burning, you guys have been on the hot seat. You guys have been great, by the way. I appreciate it. And I've been throwing some curves at you here and there, and you've reacted very, very well. So I appreciate all of that. We're going to do a little hypothetical, go back in time right now, okay? So knowing what you now know with all of life's experiences and where God's taken you through, you go back in time and you see yourselves at 18, all right? Which is where you see a lot of your team members come in, by the way, 18, 20, somewhere in that range, okay? So now you go back with the current wisdom, you see yourselves at 18. What do you tell yourself? Do more of that, do less of that? I mean, what's some of life wisdom that now you have that you probably actually, when you look at it that way, you can transfer that into those you're seeing that age, but go back and tell yourself something right now. What would it be?
Oh my gosh.
Every time, so I'm a UCLA alum, and we take the kids. Good choice. We take the kids. We take the kids on campus to volleyball games, to basketball games, and every time I go on campus, I get the sense of the loneliness and the lostness that I felt as an 18-year-old on campus, thinking about, am I picking the right major? Am I pursuing the right path? And so I would tell that 18-year-old kid, one, God is faithful and God has your back. And then two, life isn't linear. Like when you plan out your life, it's not point A to point B and there's a straight line. There's lots of twists and turns along the way. So I would encourage that 18-year-old kid, come up with a plan, diligently pursue that plan, but also hold that plan with open hands, because God has different plans for us. We never thought we'd be in the restaurant space, nor in the real estate space, but God knows what's best for us. And so, like, not to take things so seriously as an 18-year-old kid, that God is in the midst of you. He takes you on different paths, and most mistakes that you make along the way are fixable.
Yeah. Anything to add to that? What would you tell yourself?
I just dropped my 18-year-old self off for school right now. I mean, my our firstborn, we just walked the streets of where I was a while ago. Anyways, and I found a little trinket box to give to her, and it was in the shape of an oyster. And I felt that there were a lot of messages in that oyster. One, the little oyster shell was an empty oyster shell, and encouraging her, like, you were mom and dad's precious pearl, actually. And there isn't anything that you can do differently to change our love for you. So know that. And on the other side, we know that in Matthew 13, we know the parable of the man that was pursuing the perfect pearl. And when he found that perfect pearl, he sold it all for that land. And I encouraged her to continue to seek the kingdom of God. And everything else comes secondary, just like what you're saying, right? And so when we tell our 18-year self, You make your plans. You have these decisions that seem life-altering choices. And yet at the end of the day, God is ordering our steps. And so we tell our 18-year-old selves, our daughter, and our team members that, yes, you can pursue all these great things, but at the end of the day, your relationship with God is primary, is number one. Everything else falls secondary, because who else holds it all together?
Right.
But God. So, I mean, we sound like a broken record. It seems so simple, yet it's so hard, right? But to pursue it. But at the end of the day, who's got our back? Who has been faithful? We lose our ways often. We fall and we trip on our face, on our knees, and God picks us back up. So,
well, if the formula works, why would you change? Yeah. Right? And talking to you both today, I don't know if you even realize it, but here's my observation, as I'm hearing your story, much of it for the first time. And you're bringing up about how, well, we were in this space, and then God directed us to this space, and then God now moved us over here. We never expected it. My observation is you're in the same space you've been all along. The same skill sets that he's given you, the same way you're building into lives, whether it was overseas, whether it's with your children, whether it's all the same thing. It's all ministry everywhere you're going, just in different ways. And that's just what he's doing. So definitely not an accident. He's definitely got his hand on all of it. And who knows what's to come, but I'm sure there's much, much more. We appreciate you both sharing your story today. I know it's sometimes, being put on the spot to kind of open up to the world, but I trust that it'll be an encouragement to others out there. And is there a way, let's say that someone was inspired by something you said, okay? Is there a good way to reach out to you both?
Oh my gosh. 5000 Marketplace Drive, Monterey Park.
That's the first step. Go in and get a chicken sandwich.
Come on through. We are there with open hands, and we won't be there Sunday. You know that.
Right.
You can always find us there.
Is it sad that there's been a few times I've been frustrated by that? And then I have to say to myself,